McCarthy would need a majority of 218 votes to remain as House Speaker. Huey said this puts some pressure on McCarthy.
He is going to see multiple pressures to be able to compromise. He's got this immense pressure of what is called the rhinos, the Republican in name only, the ones who will oppose much of what is being done by the conservatives.
He said at the same time, McCarthy is being strongly held to make good on his promises to conservatives. Before the vote, Republican members of Congress gave opinions on the new rules package.
Chip and I agree that the rules package had to change, and we have been working to change it.
I think one thing that I'm not on board with is the idea that, you have to guarantee them X number of slots on the approach committee or the rules committee.
This agreement, if it comes to fruition, will be very good for the country.
Has McCarthy given up too much power?
He knows how much power he has. He has to, again, navigate the different factions to keep his power. And so you're going to see some compromises.
What can we expect from this Republican House?
You can expect them taking a look at the use of the federal government to basically put pressure on Twitter and Facebook and Google and Instagram and all the different factions, types of social media. You can see that what's going to happen is the FBI, the Department of Justice, the CIA, all these different bureaus, they're going to be having investigations.
Congratulations.
Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Due to a lack of manpower.
A recent report by Syracuse University says the IRS is continuing to audit more low-income groups than billionaires and millionaires. During fiscal year 2022, the rate of income tax audits per 1,000 individuals reportedly stood at 12.7 for the lowest income wage earners and 2.3 for everyone else. This made low-income wage earners the taxpayer class with by far the highest audit rates, clocking around 5.5 times more than everyone else. The report gives a possible explanation for that, saying that low-income wage earners have historically been targeted not because they account for the most tax underreporting, but because they are easy marks in an era when IRS increasingly relies upon correspondence audits, yet doesn't have the resources to assist taxpayers or answer their questions. The report comes as Republicans have said they'll repeal the Biden administration's push to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. The Inflation Reduction Act had set aside $80 billion in funding for hiring the new agents. Only around $3 billion was set aside for taxpayer services, with around $45 billion going for tax enforcement. The move was met with strong resistance from the GOP.
Newly released emails allegedly show that social media companies censored certain information on COVID vaccines. They apparently did so after receiving multiple directives from the White House.
In May of 2022, Republicans attorneys general from southern states sued the Biden administration for allegedly pressuring and colluding with social media giants to suppress free speech. Now, just a few days ago, email conversations were released as part of that lawsuit. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey, who is part of the suit, published the emails on Twitter. They appear to show White House employees instructing social media companies on how to handle information about COVID vaccines, like this email to Twitter, which addresses a post made by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Wanted to flag the below tweet, and I'm wondering if we can get moving on the process for having it removed ASAP. Janine Younes is involved in the same lawsuit as Attorney General Bailey. Younes, who represents some of the private plaintiffs in the suit, tells NTD that First Amendment rights prohibit the government from using private companies to censor certain ideas.
We had a lot of evidence that this was happening already, but these new emails sort of take it to another level because they show the government really threatening the tech companies, especially here it's Facebook and Google.
In an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, Younes gave an example of such strong language allegedly used by the White House after Facebook didn't take the desired measures to censor a certain post. A White House employee apparently wrote an email to Facebook saying, "We are gravely concerned that your service is one of the top drivers of vaccine hesitancy, period. We want to know that you're trying. We want to know how we can help. And we want to know that you're not playing a shell game. This would all be a lot easier if you would just be straight with us. Now, another thing that's being revealed with these new emails is that according to Yunus, the government previously said that social media companies actually wanted to stop the spread of so-called misinformation on vaccines, and that the government and social media had the same goals, which turns out not to be true.
These emails show that in the beginning of 2021, the companies really were not censoring as much. They were not censoring people for so-called COVID misinformation to this degree. And the government, especially this Rob Flaherty in the White House, took it to another level.
She says these are clearly First Amendment violations, and that they hope a court will recognize this with the ongoing lawsuit. NTD reached out to the White House for comment, but didn't hear back before broadcast. Reporting by Arian Pastar, NTD News.
President Biden is in Mexico today following a controversial trip to the southern border. NTD's Iris Towell has more.
For the first time in 9 years, a U.S. president in Mexico. Biden's in Mexico City today meeting with leaders of Mexico and Canada. And the meeting comes as Biden's facing backlash over his first trip to the U.S.